When we think about cybersecurity, our minds probably jump to hackers in hoodies, right? Or lines of code scrolling down a screen. But what if I told you the biggest vulnerability isn't in our computers, but in how we talk to each other? Or more importantly, how we don't talk. We're going to dive into why protecting the people we love online has way less to do with being a tech wizard and everything to do with being a good communicator. So let me just ask you, straight up, how do you protect the people you love online? Think about your parents, your grandparents, or even friends who just aren't as plugged in. It's a question that's getting more and more urgent because the threats out there are designed to sneak past the software and hit something much more vulnerable, our basic human trust. I mean, just look at this quote. This is a real story. The scammer had two little pieces of information, the mortgage amount and the company name. That's all it took to sound legit. They faked the caller ID, built a moment of trust, and walked away with a whole lot more. This isn't a virus, this is a magic trick. It's a digital confidence game. And that really brings us to what the threat landscape looks like today. The whole game has changed. We're not just fighting off annoying pop-ups anymore. The most dangerous attacks are all psychological. They're built to prey on our good instincts, our willingness to help, and our fear of getting in trouble. And the tools they use are just incredibly deceptive. You've got your standard phishing emails that look exactly like a real message from your bank. But then there's spear phishing, which is way more personal. It might use your nephew's name or reference a recent trip. And as we just saw, caller ID spoofing can make a call from anywhere on Earth look like it's coming from your doctor's office. Every single one of these is designed to trick the human, because we're the one thing that security software can't patch. So the big question is, why are some people, especially older folks, more vulnerable to this stuff? Now, it has absolutely nothing to do with intelligence. It's about the world they grew up in. There's a fundamental gap, a generational divide, in how we see the world, and scammers are masters at exploiting it. This slide just lays it out so clearly, doesn't it? Many of our parents and grandparents come from a time where you could leave your doors unlocked. A person's word was their bond, and a handshake was as good as a contract. But the digital world? It runs on a totally different operating system. It's not trust but verify anymore. It's more like never trust until you verify. That old world mindset of trusting by default is a huge liability online. And it's not just about being too trusting. There's also this deep sense of pride and a fierce independence. Think about it. Many older adults see themselves as the protectors of the family. So admitting that they got tricked or asking for help with something they don't understand, well, that can feel like a personal failure. And so way too often, they just suffer in silence. So how do we fix this? How do we bridge that gap? It's definitely not by lecturing them. It's all about how we teach. We need an approach that builds them up, that empowers them, instead of making them feel small. And the good news is, there's actually a science to getting this right. Okay, so there's a fancy word for it, andragogy. It's just the theory of how adults learn. And one of the biggest takeaways is this. Adults need to know why they're learning something. It has to be relevant to their lives right now. Forget abstract ideas. You have to connect the lesson to something they actually want to do. Research basically points to these 5 keys. First, always explain the why. Don't just show them how to use FaceTime, show them how it lets them see their grandkids' faces. Use metaphors to make complicated stuff simple. Write it down step by step so they have a cheat sheet. Be patient and repeat things as much as needed. And probably the most important thing, let them do it. Let them have their hands on the keyboard. That's how real confidence is built. And this idea of using metaphors, it's way more powerful than we give it credit for. I mean, we do it all the time in tech without even realizing it. We talk about the cloud, right? Well, that's a metaphor. We set up a firewall. That's another one. When you can connect a new, scary, abstract idea like cybersecurity to a familiar concept, it just clicks. It becomes less intimidating almost instantly. Okay, so teaching a skill is one thing, but having that really sensitive conversation about fraud and scams, that's a whole different ballgame. You can't just march in there and say, hey, you're doing it wrong. The whole approach has to be built on respect. It has to feel like you're on the same team. So here's a good way to structure that talk. Start with that then versus now idea we looked at. It's a perfect, non-judgmental icebreaker. Then show them real alerts from the FBI or the FTC. That way, it's not just you being a nag. It's an official warning. And remember, the goal here is to communicate, not dictate. Ask questions. Frame it as a partnership, like, hey, how can we make sure we're both safe from these new tricks? Want a really simple but incredibly powerful way to make this hit home? Sit down with them and Google their own name. Just do it together. When they see their own home address, their phone number, and all these other personal details just sitting out there on public websites, that abstract threat of data brokers becomes very, very real. It lets them connect the dots.
All right, so once you've had the conversation, it's time to take some action. And the best part is some of the most powerful tools for protection are actually surprisingly simple, and a lot of them are completely free.
Let's start with the undisputed heavyweight champion of preventing identity theft, the credit freeze. The best way to think about it is like putting a giant padlock on your credit report. If a criminal gets your personal info and tries to open a new credit card, the bank can't pull your report to check your credit. So boom, application denied. It stops the crime before it even starts. And this slide just nails the difference. See, credit monitoring is reactive. It's like an alarm system that only goes off after the burglar is already in your house. A credit freeze is proactive. It's the steel door and the deadbolt lock that prevents them from ever getting inside in the first place. One is an alert, the other is a wall. Now listen up, because this is the most critical part. You can't just do it once. To be truly effective, you have to place a freeze with all three of the major credit bureaus. That's Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. You gotta lock down all three. It's free, it only takes a few minutes for each one, and it is the gold standard of protection. But even with the best defenses in place, this isn't a set it and forget it kind of thing. The scams are always changing, always evolving. So the real long-term solution isn't just a tool, it's a habit. It's about creating a habit of staying informed and aware. And lucky for us, there are some amazing resources out there to make this easy. For family members who aren't techies, the OUCH newsletter is fantastic. It's short, simple, and comes in like 35 languages. If you're busy and just want the highlights, TLDR Security is a lifesaver. And if you really want to go down the rabbit hole and see how this stuff works, Krebs on Security is a must-read. And that really brings us full circle, doesn't it? At the end of the day, technology is just a tool. Real, lasting security doesn't come from an app or a piece of software. It comes from open conversation, from sharing knowledge, and from showing respect. The best defense we will ever have is empowerment. Which brings us right back to that first question. It all starts with a simple conversation. So I'll leave you with this to think about. Who in your life could use this information? What's the one conversation about staying safe online that you need to have this week?